Tonight, Boko Haram terrorists killed 2 police officers, abduct 2 others, as newly appointed service chiefs visit epicenter of Boko Haram insurgency in Borno State for the first time. Time to ban cattle movement from north to south, a suggestion by Kano State Governor Ibrahim Ganduje as way out of farmers' herder crisis. Federal government rejects Transparency International's damning report on Nigeria's corruption fight, says it's not a reflection of the country's reality. And over 4,000 Russians detained as protests demanding the release of jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny sweeps across the country. Plus, sports and international news. A few days ago, the president did not mince words when he directed the newly appointed service chiefs to immediately swing into action and end the Boko Haram insurgency, the kidnapping, banditry, and other security challenges confronting the country. That directive has spurred the service chiefs to action as they visit the theater of the Boko Haram war in Borno State today as a mark of their commitment to the task ahead of them. The service chiefs also met with the Borno State Governor, Babagana Zulum, where the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Lucky Rabo, assured journalists that the face of the operations in the region will change in the coming days.
Yes, of course, that the operations that we have been conducting is not new. The operation has been on now for well over 1 month. And so the intensity of the operation, of course, is what have led to so many of those who have been held behind lines to escape. Now, you said you had a rumor. So what do you want me to confirm to you, the rumor? What we know is that we do not have any of the Chibok girls in our custody, that is, with us. So if they are not with us, what do we want us to confirm to you? It's like you asking us to go to every home to begin to confirm who and who lives in those homes. All I can tell you is that yes, we desire that the rest of the Chibok girls will receive their liberty. And if our operations have helped those ones that have been alleged to have escaped, have yielded that result, I think we're glad. We hope to strengthen the efforts that we're putting on in order to free the rest that are behind lines.
The service chiefs obviously have their jobs cut out for them as there was yet another attack by Boko Haram insurgents in Chabal and some other communities in Maigumeri local government area of Borno State while the service chiefs were still there. Maigumeri is about 35 kilometers from the state capital, Maiduguri, where the service chiefs had met with the governor. The terrorists reportedly killed 2 policemen in the afternoon before abducting 2 others. Sources say the terrorists had laid ambush for the policemen who were on patrol, seized 2 of their patrol vehicles before setting them ablaze. 2 other policemen were also abducted and taken away, while another officer was injured. To the recurring clashes between farmers and herdsmen, which is another major security concern for government at all levels. The Kano State Governor Ibrahim Ganduje suggesting that he believes the best way to resolve what he believes is the best way to resolve the conflict. Speaking to journalists after a special lunch with President Muhammadu Buhari in Daura, Katsina State, Governor Ganduje called for the enactment of law banning the movement of cattle from the northern part of the country to the south. He added the law will also address the issue of cattle rustling in the northern part of the country. On the appointment of service chiefs, Governor Ganduje wants the military hierarchy to work with the state governors to ensure safety across the country.
In fact, my advocacy is that we should abolish the transportation or the trekking of herdsmen from northern part of Nigeria to the middle belt and to the southern part of Nigeria. There should be a law that will ban, you see, otherwise we cannot control the conflict between herdsmen and the farmers. And we cannot control even the cattle rustling, which is affecting us greatly. Kano is one of the most peaceful states in the Federation at the moment, and I think the new service chiefs will build on that. What we expect from them is certainly, since they belong to the same profession, that is managing security of this country, they must have learned what happened before and what is happening now. I think from there they will be able to learn to see what they are supposed to do. So what we expect them is to work closely with the executive governors, because the executive governors know the problems of their state and they know the problems of their people, and they know the black spots that are existing in their states.
Meanwhile, more Nigerians have been making suggestions on the task ahead of the new service chiefs, especially on what needs to be done to contain the country's security challenges. The latest suggestion is coming from Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, who believes the new service chiefs must act differently from their predecessors. Governor Wike was a guest tonight on our political program, Sunday Politics.
They must understand that the challenges are enormous, and so they have a lot of work to do. They should not confine themselves to politics. Part of the problems we had with the former savages, that they were involved in politics instead of concentrating in security of the nation. They were very much involved in politics. Nobody can deny that fact. Nobody can deny that fact. The moment you politicize security, then you are bound to have problems. I don't see why anybody would say, if you have state police, that the governors will abuse it. Then are you not telling me, oh, we are right when we say that the federal government should abuse it? You take, for example, Mr. President, as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and the president of the country, he appoints the IG. Therefore, he also abuses it. No. You cannot remove from the truth. The functions must be divided.
All right.
For local councils, these are functions. For states, these are functions. For certain crimes, the federal government function. Nobody can remove from it. But that cannot mean for you now to say, because I'm a governor of a state, I would abuse if we have state police. Why do you have the courts? It's unfortunate.
Staying with the issue of security, former Army Commander and Federal Commissioner for Information and Culture, Major General Ibrahim Haruna, believes that the various plans, strategies and models being used to tackle Nigeria's security challenges at various levels are not and will not work because there is no common objective identified as linking them. General Haruna has told Channels Television's Ladi Akeredolale on our current affairs program, Newsnight, that resources being poured into these strategies are not going to bring value for money and that change in direction is urgently required.
They are not all designed with the same objectives in mind. They are so segmented, with the result that even in implementation, you find that each one had its own limited goals, and therefore there is no real synergy, there's no real cooperation, except for the attainment of each other's short-term goals. Again, one finds as a result, since there are no common objectives, there is no synergy, there's no cooperation, whatever costs and finances that is incurred solves little for all, if any, and that it only compounds the direction of the efforts that is required for the major assault that is needed, so that there is a common belonging to attaining the foreseeable good well-being, for the people generally.
You can watch the full interview with General Haruna on Newsnight. It airs tomorrow right here on Channels Television at 9 p.m. We're staying with our theme for tonight, and that's security. Let's get some insight now into the visit of the service chiefs to Borno State earlier today with a special advisor to the Borno State governor on media, Mr. Issa Gusso. Mr. Gusso, it's a pleasure having you on the news at 10.
Thank you.
Maybe we should begin. You're welcome. We should begin with your thoughts on that visit, that all-important visit. What did you make of it, coming just a few days after their appointment as service chiefs?
Yeah, the meeting was quite important. I mean, it's homecoming for most of the service chiefs. For instance, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Loki Irabo, was very famous in Bedouin where he was theater commander. The Chief of Air Staff was also in the theater command, and so also was the Chief of Army Staff. The Chief of Naval Staff had also operated in Borno State. So it's a homecoming for them, and I think part of what brought them was to achieve two things. To meet the political authority. They met the governor of Borno State, to present themselves to him and to rub minds. And of course, they know that the governor of Borno State, Professor Zulum, is someone who has shown overwhelming commitment, in the fight against Boko Haram. As you know, within the last 2 years, Zulum has employed many civilian JTF members in thousands. He has recruited many hunters. He has increased the salaries, monthly allowances of these volunteers. He has procured more than 600 vehicles. He supports the military. They see him whenever they want. So I think their coming is just to remind the governor that, look, we are back here. We want to, inject new approach, in the fight against Boko Haram. And their coming is quite good. And I believe that they are going to meet with their operational commanders, in various brigades, and sectors, and things like that, to discuss, the whole thing. They are coming in different regard now. They are coming as leaders. So I believe that they know that a lot of Nigerians, are looking forward to them. Governor Zulum had told them that he expects that there should be stronger collaboration with armed forces in Chad, Cameroon, and the Niger Republic. And then he also called for synergy between, all the military components. Because one of the things that the governor thought that they must avoid is rivalry between them. There has to be synergy, particularly between the Army and the Air Force, because they are going to be operating from the top, and the bottom. And then the governor also talked about the need to eliminate any trust deficit between the military and the civilian population. And one of the ways they can do that is to avoid blaming the civilians. People of Borno has given a lot of their sons, in the fight against Boko Haram. When somebody comes to say that these people of Borno are not supporting Boko Haram, it amounts to a lot of insult.
Mr. Gusso,
so I believe that there will be changes.
Yeah, Mr. Gusso. So we do understand a lot is resting on the shoulders of these service chiefs, a lot from, and not just the governor, but the people of Borno State and all of Nigeria also. And we know that, you just recapped, all that happened during the visit. But let's talk about the morale of the troops. This is a long, drawn-out war that the military and the army and all of the troops have been involved in for more than 10 years. Did any of the service chiefs talk about boosting the morale, of these troops, whether the army or the military?
I think the mere fact that new service chiefs have been appointed is enough to boost the morale, of some people, because most times they would come with new changes. I know that there are a number of troops who have been in the front line for 2-3 years. I'm sure that the service chiefs will probably look into the need to move some of those troops that have been in the war front for a very long time to replace them. I believe that they are very capable. General Irabo is very good. The Chief of Army Staff was briefly here. Now he's covering a different capacity. All of them, I believe, are very committed. I'm sure they would take a holistic look at these things. And they had met the governor privately. I'm sure the governor must have raised some silent issues. We hope to see drastic changes in the fight against Boko Haram.
Indeed, we're all looking forward to a holistic view and reorganization of the security apparatus in the country. Mr. Issa Gusso, is a pleasure once again having you on the News at 10. We wish your state the best.
Thank you.
In part two, after the break, clampdown on child trafficking continues with 19 minors rescued from Lagos by Benue State government. Join us again. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Boko Haram terrorists kill 2 police officers, abduct 2 others as newly appointed service chiefs visit epicenter of Boko Haram insurgency in Borno State for the first time. Time to ban cattle moving from north to south, a suggestion by Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje as way out of farmer-herder crisis. Federal government rejects Transparency International's damning report on Nigeria's corruption fight, says it is not a reflection of the reality in the country. And over 4,000 Russians detained as protests demanding the release of jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny sweeps across the country. Police authorities have arrested 5 persons who specialize in the abduction of women and girls, sexually abusing them and obtaining ransom from their families before their release. The Force Public Relations Officer, Mr. Frank Kumba, in a statement confirmed that the suspects were arrested by operatives of the Intelligence Response Team following a massive hunt for the perpetrators in some South states, especially Port Harcourt and its environs. He explains that the abductors target female drivers of luxury cars were alone, trail them to lonely roads, abduct and take them to their criminal hideouts where they abuse them sexually. A similar operation carried out by the Interpol also led to the arrest of 2 suspected trans-border international child porn syndicate, which sexually abuse and take undue advantage of underage girls and disseminate the video recordings of the illicit acts on social media platforms. In Benue State, 2 non-governmental organizations and the state government have repatriated 19 minors trafficked from Oshongo and Vandiaka local government areas of the state to Lagos for exploitation and child labor. The state authorities say the issue of rights abuses is yielding results as 3 more traffickers have been arrested and the children safely returned home. It is a moment of succor for 19 underaged children trafficked from Benue State to Lagos, as the arrest of some traffickers by the anti-human trafficking unit of the Force CID Alagbon in Lagos State reinstates their liberty. Working in collaboration with the Eunice Spring of Life Foundation and Break the Silence Initiative, both non-governmental organizations, the Benue State government receives the victims.
The NGO sent a message to Women Affairs, and she responded to the plight and were asked to convey the children to Benue State. Here we have 19 persons that were trafficked from Benue State to Lagos.
We intimate them. So many trainings took place for them how to detect such kind of people, and that is why the Oshongo people were able to detect yesterday, and we have realized that we have 3 people who suspects are now in the custody of the police.
The need to provide children with all social safety nets for growth and issues of rights violations and justice is again brought to the front burner.
Our message as Unispring of Life Foundation to parents is that despite the difficulties, they should take proper charge of their children, and they should make an effort to see to it that their children are well taken care of, and that they should monitor their children so that they are not sold into trafficking.
And just as the repatriation was ongoing, 3 more traffickers were arrested in Oshunga local government by the chairman. The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, on its part, assures the victims of justice while working with the police.
As NACTIV, there are other procedures that will take over after this, and we hope to work in collaboration with the Commissioner, Honorable Commissioner, other stakeholders that are here to see that these children get justice.
Benue State is gradually becoming a hub for trafficking in persons and underage children, particularly with the deplorable state at the IDP camps where victims of herdsmen attacks have been taking solace since 2018, and the near absence of parents taking proper care of their children. Shortly after, global anti-corruption group Transparency International released its latest corruption perception index, which rated Nigeria low in the fight against corruption, the presidency rejected the report and promised to release facts which it says were missing. Today, the federal government, through the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, formally rejected Corruption Perception Index reports, which placed Nigeria 149th out of 183 sampled countries. It insists that the low rating of Nigeria does not truly reflect the achievements made by the country in its fight against corruption. The Minister of Information and Culture, Mr. Lai Mohammed, assures that the federal government will continue in its anti-corruption drive, especially in putting measures and building integrity systems with high-profile corruption cases currently under investigation and prosecution. Mr. Lai Mohammed says the federal government is interrogating a number of issues and discrepancies that have been observed in the ratings process, including some data sources in which Nigeria's scores have remained flat over the past 10 years, reflecting no improvement, decline, or fluctuation. He explains further that the emphasis on preventive mechanisms is in response to various local and international reviews and evaluation that Nigeria has gone through, including those from the United Nations Convention Against Corruption and even from the TICPI. In other news, the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons has flagged off the distribution of relief items to internally displaced persons in Zamfara State. Performing the flag-off ceremony in Gusso, the Zamfara State capital, the Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Bashir Muhammad, said the materials will help to assist IDPs.
Bringing succor to internally displaced persons in Zamfara State, the federal government flagged off the distribution of relief materials to affected residents. The Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Bashir Mohammed, who was represented at the occasion, explains the reason for the distribution of the relief materials, as he reiterates the commitment of the Commission to the provision of food, non-food items and skills acquisition across the country for IDPs.
We are targeting all IDPs from Anka local government, all IDPs from Zurimi local government and some selected areas in Zamfara State.
On his part, the Zamfara State Governor Bello Matawale, who was equally represented by his Special Advisor on Special Duties, commended the federal government for the gesture. He restates measures put in place by the state government to provide adequate security in all affected communities.
His Excellency has directed the security agencies to go to the various villages and make sure that all people that are displaced from that villages return back to their homes and give them adequate security till further notice, till when the security improves within that domain.
The Special Advisor to the Governor on Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management assures displaced persons that the agency will do justice in the distribution of the items, as only affected persons will benefit from the items.
We have intact record, we have a solid data certified by Bureau of Statistics, which they are the body responsible for the data, and we can prove to anybody, anytime. We can give lists as well as phone numbers of our beneficiaries, and everybody is free to call and confirm whether those beneficiaries have actually received what we said we have given them or not.
Some of the beneficiaries expressed gratitude to both federal and state governments.
Mun gode Allah saka da alheri an ba mu abin da zamu ci har da irin halin da nake ciki yanzu ga da abincin zan ci da yawa da inci da iyalina.
With the donated items, which includes rice, maize, millet, palm oil, mattresses, toiletries, grinding and irrigation pumping machines, among others, better days appear to be here for internally displaced persons in Zamfara State.
150 youth agro-processors and 10 farmers in Niger State have benefited from the distribution of production and processing equipment by the International Fund for Agricultural Development (IFAD) Value Chain Development Project. Drawn from various parts of the state, the beneficiaries are mostly processors of rice and cassava. At the flag-off of the distribution in Mina, IFAD officials appealed to the state government to pay up its counterpart fund to sustain the program in the state.
Many farmers in Niger State still engage in subsistence farming and processing of agriculture produce using crude methods, thereby affecting production and output. But that is about to change as the International Fund for Agriculture Development, through its Value Chain Development Project, is distributing modern equipment that will enhance their activities. These include power tillers, rice reapers, sprayers, rice destoners, milling machines, gari fire and presser, among others worth 75 million naira. Women and men are among the beneficiaries, and officials believe the newly acquired inputs will help them get value for their labor.
The expectation is higher production, higher yield, better result, better production, more empowerment to both women and youth.
Our call on the beneficiaries is that they should not go and sell this equipment. They should use this equipment for the purpose for which VCDP is supporting them with, so that they can have maximum profit and also come out from poverty.
It's a cheering development for the beneficiaries, who are optimistic of better days, just as the state government commends the intervention of the international organization.
For us in Niger State, VCDP has come to stay, and of course we use that line of the activity to ensure that our farmers continue to benefit from that, and of course they increase their production, of course, on a sustainable basis.
Before the intervention of this program, sincerely speaking, we don't even use to apply USG because it's very difficult. But with this machine, now farmer will be able to work with this and also succeed on it.
When we are there, we didn't have all these instruments to use, but as of now, we come here to see it. Now that we are very happy, and we are going to use it very well when we reach home.
Niger State has so far benefited over 3 billion naira from the implementation of the Value Chain Development Project of the International Fund for Agriculture Development in partnership with the federal government.
When the News at 10 returns, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing announces reopening of Third Mainland Bridge to traffic by midnight. Stay with us. Welcome back to the News at 10. The Federal Ministry of Works and Housing has announced the reopening of the Third Mainland Bridge to traffic by midnight of Sunday, January 31st. The bridge has been completely shut from midnight of Friday, with the closure initially planned for 72 hours. Now, according to the ministry, the rehabilitation work has been completed earlier than scheduled, and motorists can now start using the bridge from midnight of today. This means the current diversion and traffic arrangements on the bridge are expected to continue from Monday, February 1st. The Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, during his inspection tour of federal construction works in Lagos, said the bridge will be reopened fully to traffic by mid-February. as part of efforts aimed at peaceful resolution of disputes in the country. A civil society organization managing conflict in Nigeria is advocating the need for strengthening traditional justice system. The national program manager of the organization says the traditional justice system in the northeast states of Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe would help achieve peaceful resolution of conflicts much faster.
Building capacity for conflict management in the northeast states of Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe remains the focus of Managing Conflict Nigeria, a civil society organization. With funding from the European Union, the Managing Conflict in Nigeria is supporting traditional and community leaders in tackling dispute resolution, protection of human rights, and gender-based violence, amongst others.
This forum.
The state team of MCN sets the tone for the dialogue, just as the representative of the Lamido of Adamawa laments the lack of constitutional duties for traditional rulers.
This forum is intended for us to discuss, deliberate on what we see is to be done by traditional rulers themselves, by government at all levels, by development partners, and even the MCN program.
We don't have role in Nigerian constitution. But anytime any problem happens, they will say, okay, let's go back to tradition council. They know our impact. They know our impact in the society.
The representative of security outfits at the meeting explains the role of security agencies in settling communal disputes.
Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, to the best of my knowledge, is the only organization that has peace and conflict department, right from national headquarters transcend to 37 state command and FCT. And we are working with all relevant stakeholders to ensure that we have resolved issues amicably.
The National Program Manager, MCN, highlights the essence of administering justice, security, and conflict resolution in the country through the traditional justice system.
When we talk about conflict resolution and the mechanisms that do conflict resolution, in terms of the number and volume of work that is being done, the traditional rulers are ahead of everybody. In terms of the formal justice institutions, they have hours of work. Traditional rulers have no hours of work.
At the end of the dialogue, participants are of the opinion that neutrality when resolving conflict and proper management of disputes regarding land and water resources by traditional rulers is key to dousing tension in the region badly affected by insurgency and other crime.
In Nasarawa State, Governor Abdullahi Sule is concerned about the revenue generation accrual of the state, which, according to him, can hardly enable the state perform its obligations optimally. And that explains why he has signed into law the Revenue Harmonization and Administration Bill, which seeks to block leakages and shore up the state revenue base. Our correspondent, Halima Gayom, has more.
Nasarawa State, north-central Nigeria, is saddled with an economy struggling to stay at par with its contemporaries. Despite generating 1 billion naira monthly, it also loses a huge percentage, especially from the informal sector. Effort in recent years, however, has earned the state the 9th position out of the 36 states with the fastest growing economy and second in the north-central region. That's according to the National Bureau of Statistics and the Joint Tax Board rating. But as part of the identified reform areas listed in the Nasarawa State Economic Development Strategy, Governor Abdullahi Sule seeks an improvement in revenue generation. He signs the Revenue Harmonization and Administration Bill into law, repealing previous ones. This is aimed at stalling multiplicity and blocking leakages, with the aspirations of the people placed as priority.
Everything we are doing is for the betterment of Nasarawa State and also for better revenue service, plugging of the various leakages that we have in the state.
Part of the process for the successful implementation of the law is this gathering, which is to sensitize stakeholders from the state ministries, departments and agencies There are 13 local government and 18 development areas.
We're setting up revenue collection administration in all the local government areas, whereby our zonal and area tax offices will be fully involved. Thirdly, we will deploy our officers to all the MDAs in order to monitor the processes and procedures there.
While the law is necessary for the government to meet its obligations, it has a plan for young persons too.
The objective of this law is to minimize, that is to block revenue leakages in the state and then improve revenue generation across the state.
Infringements will not be condoned, Governor Sule warns.
Everybody given the maximum cooperation, putting a lot of man hours to make it work. So we cannot, on the other part, sit and tolerate anybody that is going to violate this law. That's why we wanted it to be law first. So the moment it is a law, then you must follow.
All revenues accruing from MDAs, local government and development areas will henceforth be domiciled in a single pool. The current revenue generation target is 3 billion naira monthly, an amount the State Revenue Service is optimistic it will exceed. Halima Gayam, Channels Television News.
And now to the arts. Faade is an exhibition of new unconventional paintings that project the African identity. The exhibition, hosted by Arts 21 Gallery, features variations of paintings of 6 decades.
The exhibits in Faade, a solo exhibition by veteran artist Bruce Onabraikweya, are a variation of paintings that explore a diverse scope of subject matters expressed in various forms, including folklores, folk tales, and myths.
Inspiration is day-to-day life. The day-to-day life, the experiences that we have, our own stories, folklore, history, telling the story in our own words.
Social unrest, violence against women are among the hot topics on the table, segmented to cover various periods of his art practice.
It's like a synecdoche, it's this exhibition in as much as it sort of puts on the spotlight this technique, this specific technique, paintings of the artist. And you're still showing works that sort of display every aspect of art or artistic techniques that he's dabbled into in the last couple of years.
Onabraikweya is renowned worldwide for his creative ability, with the primary objective to project the African identity, and the Arts 21 Gallery are elated to be a part of this celebration, expected to run for months.
And it just so happened that we collaborated with Kenny and his team to have him here. His work is phenomenal, and it spans across at least 60 years or plus, and we're honored to have everything that we have here, and we're looking forward to the next 3-4 months that we have it on.
Individuals, collectors, and others now have the opportunity to view his solo exhibition from December the 12th through to April the 10th next year.
On the foreign scene, the UK says 598,389 people received their first dose of COVID-19 vaccine on Saturday alone. As of Saturday, more than 8.9 million people had received the jab, and 491,053 of them had received the second dose. It was information the Health Secretary Matt Hancock was delighted to give, adding that each vaccine brings the UK one step closer to normal. Here's a global update. The comments about the vaccine rollout in the UK comes as China reports it has completed the injection of more than 24 million COVID-19 vaccine doses since mid-December 2020. Head of the National Institute for Viral Disease Control and Prevention under the CDC, Zhu Wenbo, said this in a briefing with the media, adding that China's epidemic prevention policy is focused on preventing the inflow of coronavirus and the resurgence of domestic infections. Meanwhile, renowned respiratory specialist Zhong Nanshan says patients who tested positive for the COVID-19 after recovering from their first bout of the illness appear to be barely infectious. Meanwhile, Japan says it has found 5 people aged between 40 and 60 in the capital, Tokyo, and Saitama Prefecture, who have been confirmed infected with the new coronavirus variant found in the United Kingdom. 3 of those infected in Saitama Prefecture were close contacts of a previously confirmed patient infected with the novel coronavirus variant. The Health Ministry believes that this is the first time a cluster of infections related with the variant occurred in Japan. Algerian Prime Minister Abdelaziz Gerard has received his first jab of COVID-19 vaccine a day after the country began its nationwide vaccination campaign. After receiving its first shipment of Russia's Sputnik V vaccine on Friday, Algeria received 50,000 doses of Sputnik V. The campaign intends to prioritize health workers, people with chronic diseases, and the elderly. Algeria is also on standby to receive a shipment of COVID-19 vaccine from AstraZeneca. Finally, Colombia is set to receive up to 4.4 million doses of coronavirus vaccines via the World Health Organization-backed COVAX mechanism. It will receive vaccines produced by Pfizer and BioNTech, as well as by AstraZeneca via the scheme. Colombia is expected to get 117,000 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine in the first quarter of the year, and will also receive between 2.6 million and 4.3 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, according to a letter from COVAX published on Twitter by Health Minister Fernando Ruiz. Still ahead on the news at 10, more from the international scene as over 4,000 Russians detained as a protest demanding the release of jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny sweeps across the country. Join us again. Welcome back. Russian security forces have been arresting scores of people taking part in protests. They've arrested more than 4,000 as protests demanding release of Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny shows no sign of stopping. Navalny was arrested just as he landed in the country after 5 months in Germany, where he had been receiving treatment for Novichok poisoning. Authorities, however, say he was supposed to report to police regularly because of a suspended sentence for embezzlement. The nationwide rallies are entering the second straight weekend of protests that are part of a high-risk opposition campaign to try to pressure the Kremlin into freeing Alexei Navalny, President Vladimir Putin's most prominent opponent. On Sunday, the police used special equipment, including tasers, against Navalny's supporters. Police have detained more than 4,000 people across the country so far, but the protests have remained unrelenting. In a highly unusual move, police imposed a security lockdown in the heart of the capital, sealing off streets to pedestrians near the Kremlin, closing metro stations and deploying hundreds of riot police. All weekend, police have been using batons and electric tasers to arrest protesters. Authorities have warned people to stay away from the demonstrations, saying people risked catching COVID-19, as well as prosecution and possible jail time for attending an unauthorized event. All across the country, in major cities, the story has been the same. Force used to beat protesters into submission as they brave drop-in temperatures and threat of arrest to demand Navalny's release. Navalny has blamed state security agents under President Putin's orders for the attempt on his life that resulted in his being treated in Germany following a Novichok poisoning. The Kremlin, however, denies involvement and disputes conclusion by the Western experts that Novichok was used. Among those detained on Sunday was Yulia Navalnaya, Navalny's wife. She was later released. Earlier, she had posted on Instagram, "If we stay quiet, then they could come for any of us tomorrow." A number of Navalny's closest associates have been detained since last week, and others, including his brother and Pussy Riot activist Maria Aloykina, have been put under house arrest. Here on the continent, ousted leader of Ethiopia's Tigray region, Debretsion Gebremichael, has called on the international community to investigate Ethiopian and Eritrean forces for waging a devastating and genocidal war in the region. Debretsion was one of those who fled the capital with fighters from his Tigray People's Liberation Front, the TPLF, vowing to resist federal control over the region. This is the first time he has spoken in public in months, and his message was passed via an audio recording lasting about 20 minutes and broadcast on a Facebook account run by TPLF media outlets. The Ethiopian government has faulted his claim of the atrocities, saying the claims are unfounded and that his forces were guilty of horrendous crimes. The Eritrean and Ethiopian governments have previously denied that Eritrean troops are involved in the conflict, but the U.S. State Department last week said that Eritrean forces were in Tigray and they should immediately withdraw. Sport is now after a sustained campaign over the last couple of years. Breaking, popularly known as breakdancing, will become an Olympic sport for the first time at the Paris 2024 Summer Games. We caught up with the Nigerian breaking community as they set up their sights on representing the country in the French capital.
The EB at the same time confirmed for new sports, there's skateboarding, sport climbing, surfing and breaking.
Considered one of the main 5 elements of hip-hop, breakdancing originated in the Bronx in the 1970s, but has spread globally beyond the shores of the USA. Its inclusion in the Paris Summer Games has indeed triggered great excitement among b-boys and girls around the world, including Nigerian breakers.
The day I first heard it, I was like, oh my, it was blue. I'm like, oh my God. This is actually happened for the first time. I've been breaking in Olympics 2024. I think it's just a great thing. I'm so excited right now, like seeing everything going on well. So I think I'm good.
We've been hoping for this to happen very, very long time, because I feel this is going to give us the publicity we want and to make government at least support us in our craft.
According to World Dance Sport Federation President Sean Tay, the best 32 in the world will be competing in Paris, but these Nigerian breakers are not deterred by a potentially daunting qualification process.
We have loads of good breakers down here in Nigeria, because I believe those outside there, they have more platforms, they have more grounds, things and more jams for them to practice, go, they battle, they lose, they come back, they practice harder and go. So we have lesser battles, lesser platforms in Nigeria, and I believe from now till 2024, where the Olympics is going to hold, if platforms are created, if grounds, avenues are created for b-boys to break, to practice, I believe we can stand the world.
Breakdancing promoters also see the huge potential in the country, and as with any sport, the scientific perspective cannot be ignored.
The talent has been growing and the excitement has been there, the motivation has been there. So I think we're doing good when it comes to the talent.
We don't have enough facilities. Generally, B-boys recognize National Stadium, Gate G. So we used to call it the B-boy sports. It's actually at a car park space and the floor is concrete. So it's a hard ground, and most of the b-boys are tired of it, and they actually need a good space to train.
Now it's now a sport, so it's to transition from, the culture b-boy into, the athlete b-boy. You look at things, look at how they move, how they train, so how can one improve that, How can one get stronger? How can one get more flexible? How can one get fitter?
Breaking's debut on sport's biggest stage may still be over 1,000 days away, but the time to start planning is now, so as to give Nigerian breakers a fair chance of realizing their Olympic dreams.
That will be really interesting to watch. Ahead of the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, the federal government is confident the country's athletes will win medals from the 11 events they will be participating in, including water sports. The Minister of Youth and Sports, Mr. Sunday Dare, says the ministry is determined to support all athletes participating in the Olympics. To the Nigerian Premier Football League results, Rivers United of Port Harcourt have returned to the top of the NPFL table after matchday 7 matches played this evening across 8 stadia. Fortune Omoniwari scored the deciding goal against Adamawa United in the 53rd minute. It's the Port Harcourt natives' 5th win of the season and have picked 15 points from 7 league games. Eyimba International also beat Katsina United by same score line, scored by Tosin Omoyele. The former champions also have 15 points from 7 league games, but Rivers enjoy a superior goals difference. In other league games, Dakada FC beat Warri Wolves 2-0. Jigawa Golden Stars picked their 3rd win of the season, edging out Heartland of Owerri 2-0. Sunshine Stars beat Rangers International 3-1. In the EPL, manager Thomas Tuchel has registered his first win in charge of Chelsea as goals from Cesar Azpilicueta and the recalled Marcus Alonso helped his side see off Burnley 2-0 at Stamford Bridge. Patrick Bamford had a goal in all 3 goals as Leeds United fought back to end Leicester City's 7-game unbeaten run. Mohamed Salah produced 2 moments of magic as Liverpool's recovery continued with a 3-1 win at West Ham. The Egyptian ended his 6-game goal drought in the league by cutting in from the right and curling a trademark shot inside the far post on 57 minutes after Liverpool had struggled in the final third up to that point. Finally, tonight, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has made it mandatory for residents to wear face masks or face 6 months jail term. It's in line with the COVID-19 Health Protection Regulations 2021 signed last week by President Muhammadu Buhari. Governor Sanwo-Olu also announced the approval of 200 million naira to support the ongoing COVID-19 patient management and treatment efforts of 2 federal government treatment centers in the state. The governor also advised residents to follow social distancing guidelines, avoid mass gatherings, or adhere to published guidelines for congregations, practice regular hand and respiratory hygiene, and get COVID-19 testing if they feel any symptoms that correspond with the outlined symptoms of COVID-19. And the main news again. Boko Haram terrorists today killed 2 police officers and abducted 2 others as newly appointed service chiefs visited the theater of Boko Haram insurgency in Borno State for the very first time. That's it on the News at 10. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night and stay safe.